Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I wanted to remind you, this is a Cerebras AI chip. This is your normal chip. Cerebras has 1.2 trillion transistors and 400,000 AI optimized cores, whatever that means. But that's the Cerebras chip versus an average chip. And I just checked, and linked to my sponsor still has Cerebras private equity left on the platform. I'm sure there won't be much for long, but wanted to let you all know it. Go to link to linqto.com. Ripple versus SEC lawsuit enters a pivotal week as files opposition brief on April 22nd. Yesterday, she was saying next week could be big. This is the Stuart Alderati tweet, seeing some confusion on next steps with the SEC versus Ripple case. To clarify, Ripple will file its response to the SEC's request for penalties by April 22nd. The SEC has until May 6th to reply. I don't think we'll see it today. My understanding is they'll have to redact everything they're going to redact before we're allowed to see it. It says there's no final pretrial conference because the SEC dismissed the charges against Brad and Chris. So that's today, folks, 22nd. So we may not see it, but it's coming out. Check this out from Black Swan Capitalist.
We're entering a rather bizarre period, but one way or the other, there is absolutely no way that the US government can escape its debt trap. That is getting really very serious and impossible to get out of. And the Russians and the Chinese know this. And sooner or later, they're going to have to protect their own currencies by going on to a gold standard. That, in my view, will happen. And I think it will happen basically because it will be it will be pushed as a defensive move, if you like, certainly from Russia and certainly from China. I would also expect the Saudis to follow, and there could well be other nations to do so as well.
Okay, and then we've got this. Standard Chartered Bank analyst is calling for $150,000 Bitcoin.
Bitcoin leverage positions were liquidated. So the market is now looking much more square going into the halving, if you like, in terms of leverage. So that's very helpful. So hopefully we can get through the halving tonight, get some slightly more positive news out of the Middle East, which would be fantastic. And I suspect that can then see Bitcoin start to retrend higher. I'm still looking for $150,000 by the end of this year. So less important on the halving, but from where we are now, it's starting to look like we can push higher again.
I'm going to reiterate what you just said. With Bitcoin trading below 65,000, your year-end forecast, 150,000 per coin for Bitcoin and 200,000 by the end of 2025. What are the specific reasons for your expectations that we'll see a notable lift from here?
So part of it is those ETF inflows. As I mentioned, they've stalled for now, but I anticipate going from the start of this year to when the ETF market in the US is mature, we'll get between 50 and $100 billion of inflow. So far we've had 12 billion, as I mentioned earlier. Now, I suspect that can now happen over about an 18 months to 24 month period. When that happened for gold, when we went in the US from no spot ETF market in 2004 to that market gradually maturing, the price of gold multiplied by 4.3 times. So that could get us to that 150 to 200,000 range as sort of input number one. Input number two is over time when you have enough investors, i.e. investors are fully sated in terms of their Bitcoin exposure, which hasn't been the case before the ETFs, but over time, if we get those ETF flows in, that should be where we end up. In terms of a portfolio between Bitcoin and gold, you should get to about 80% gold, 20% Bitcoin. And for that, even...
See, now that's a lot more reasonable there.
gold prices were to go sideways again, that gets you to that $150,000 to $200,000 mark in terms of Bitcoin. So there's a few factors that are all driving to roughly the same level. I think medium term, if we get to 200,000, because of the institutional flows as well, it's much more likely that Bitcoin won't have a large retracement, which it did have in previous cycles. So again, that halving cycle story becomes slightly less important.
Jeff.
Now, this is the video I'd wanted to show you from in the last video, and I didn't get to it. So watch this.
XLS 38D is an amendment to support cross-chain bridges. This enables interoperability between different networks. The XLS 38D proposed standard will allow tokens from one blockchain to be locked in an account on the XRP Ledger, while an equivalent amount of tokens is issued on another blockchain, increasing the use cases and adoption of the XRP Ledger. The team has made design changes to XLS 38D to support multiple bridges per door account for libraries, explorers, witness servers, and to improve user experience. I want to take a minute to explain why I think these cross-chain bridges are important and why sidechains are important. The XRP Ledger main network is great for payments. It's the home of XRP, and you can use it for other things too. But the idea that everybody will be able to do everything that they might want to do on a single layer one is just unrealistic. No matter how much it scales, there's going to be a limit. And there's going to be people who are going to want to do higher numbers of transactions. There's going to be people who want more computing power. There's going to be people who want very specialized transactors that demand a lot of resources. There's storage that can only go around so much. And there's trade-offs with putting something on the XRP Ledger mainnet. If you put something on the XRP Ledger mainnet, every XRP Ledger mainnet node has to store and relay those transactions. And that creates a scarce resource that we can only divide so far. It's a lot, but it is not infinite. Whatever capacity it has, that's all it has. Whatever capabilities it has, there are going to have to be capabilities that it doesn't have. No layer one is ever going to be everything to everyone. And if we don't want that to be a huge downside, if we don't want that to fragment the community, what we need is the ability to have asset portability so that XRP is not limited to the XRP ledger or other issued assets aren't limited to their home ledgers. Because if you want to build up some other function on some other ledger, you have to be able to get real value onto it. If you have to build a new token or issue a new stablecoin or just build up the sort of whole asset infrastructure from the ground up, that's going to stifle innovation. The other thing that it's great for is to be able to test out things that might be useful on the main network. I'll talk about hooks later, but hooks is a good example of something that you might not want to adopt on the main network immediately because of some of those trade-offs. No matter how good you think it is, it has costs associated with those benefits. And it would be sort of risky in the extreme to just adopt it on the mainnet and hope that those trade-offs work out in our favor. The level of confidence that you need to have to risk harming the main network is very, very.
All right, very interesting couple of minutes on the XRP Ledger XLS 38. Now, another video I meant to show you the other day so that you can get a big picture view. This is, I'm trying to remember what his name is. He's at Ripple. I saw him when I was in Singapore walking out of a room. Anyway, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he's one of the business guys for Ripple.
It's unlikely, I think it's almost impossible, that there's going to be one blockchain that is this monolithic thing that is going to be what everybody across the entire world standardizes on. By definition, there will be different ledgers, different blockchains, different networks that exist. So putting the entire world on one blockchain, fundamentally, I don't think it makes sense. It's not how the world is starting to play out. I don't think it's how the world will end up being played out. So Ripple kind of pioneered this idea of how do you address that problem? How do you create interoperability between different ledgers, between different payment networks? And so we came up with a protocol, just like there was TCP/IP for the internet. Our engineering team has created something called the Interledger protocol, or ILP. And the idea being that these different networks, blockchain just being one, ACH, which is the sort of money, the intra-country check clearing, money moving network here in the United States. Visa is the network. You can argue that HSBC has a payments network, et cetera, et cetera. There are all these islands right now, and sure, you can ask each of these networks to move on the blockchain, but then they're just kind of copying what they're doing and putting it over on a blockchain. There's scalability issues that come up very quickly when that happens. So the idea is, just like the internet connected data networks around the world, there should be a standard, a protocol that connects these value networks, these payment networks. And that's really what the Interledger protocol that we've developed and is now open source. It's now out for other people to build on and improve on and deploy. But it sort of got its start within Ripple. And that's really the idea, is to create these networks. So now you can have interaction between the networks and create that efficiency, that interoperability of value that we'd argue is lacking, sort of that third component after the interoperability of goods, the interoperability of data. You need the interoperability of value. And just like you need standards for those others two, you need standards for this. And the ability to leverage something like the Interledger protocol to do that is super important. And so now here's the nice, pretty future state world. It's all interconnected and whatnot. We don't need to spend a lot of.
Okay, so let me tell you what I'm dealing with today. This morning I had the washing machine. My wife said that it went out and said it wouldn't spin. So I had some appliance people over here. They told me it's going to cost, to just fix it, it's going to cost as much as it would be to just get a new one. So I have to get a new washing machine, because I was planning on cleaning, starting to clean some of my clothes for getting ready. I got to get ready for XRP Las Vegas this week. So if you see me dirty at XRP Las Vegas, it will be because I did not have enough time to get, sometimes you go to buy these washing machines and say, oh, yeah, we'll have that to you in 2 weeks. We're backlogged. No, I don't think that's going to happen, but I do have a plan in place so that I won't have to go to I won't have to go to Las Vegas dirty. I do have a plan, and I've already taken all of my stuff to the dry cleaners, so that part of things is taken care of. So don't worry. I plan on being clean when I come to XRP Las Vegas. Now, in DAIXRP.com, I'm going to show you what I consider to be a must-see 5-minute video that completely describes, after we've been through all this ETHgate and then just the political climate and everything else over the last 5 years for me have made absolutely no sense. Nobody pays for anything. None of the bad guys face any consequences for their illegalities, for their criminal acts. And I'm going to show you 5 minutes of must-see video from someone who feels the exact same way that you and I feel in DAIXRP.com. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that away we go.